All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us.
You've reached the internet's home for all things masonry. Join On the Level podcast as we plumb the depths of our ancient craft and try to unlock the mysteries, dispel the fallacies, and utilize the teachings of Freemasonry to unlock the greatness within each of us.
I have you now.
Let's go!
Hey!
We are back again, my brother.
Well, hello there.
Hey, buddy.
How are you doing, Mr. Matt Stone?
I'm doing great. It's almost like we didn't just do an hour and a half podcast together and doing another one right behind it.
I like that you cleaned and washed your shirt and you decided to wear it again, as have I. Yes, we're very responsible.
Yep. And brothers, this is I love this shirt. I mean, the money for that that was raised from making these shirts actually went to charity. So I didn't care at all. I just love the shirt. I mean, it's a great inside joke for a lot of people, and like 2 people are going to get pissed off about it, but that's up to them.
Yeah. Well, those people are always upset. Let's be honest. So,
yeah, for sure.
Give them something
to goodness
chew on. Well, we are here recording a new episode of On the Level podcast where we want to talk about the continuation of our host, Brother Matt Stone's his continuing Masonic journey. We did one of the last podcasts that we put out before all the mess that I got us into was you and your journey so far in Freemasonry. And I feel like this Grand Lodge is like chapter 2. So I thought we could maybe start to cover chapter 2 in the book of Matt.
For those brothers who haven't seen the episodes and haven't been following this journey of mine,
First of all, go watch the episodes. What are you doing?
Come on. Seriously, you've got the time. Just go watch them.
You have plenty of time. Listen to it on a podcast while you're driving in the car.
Yeah.
Or if you're watching on YouTube, you can hit the like button or hit the bell or subscribe so that you can get notified every time that we do a new podcast.
Exactly. So either way, yeah. So it's been a very interesting journey so far. For those of you who don't know, I've only been a Master Mason for about 18 months. I first started talking to Chris when I was a fellow craft hey, I've got some issues going on at my lodge, Turkey Creek number 248. Rest in peace. So, and I'm just kind of giving you guys the elevator pitch. But either way, got into that lodge, got a reprimand by the newly installed Grand Master June of last year. Yep. So sad. So got a reprimand, went through a lodge rebuild, charter pool trial where I testified on both sides of the trial. And then I go to a new lodge, Lakeland Lodge 91. And my worshipful master gets pulled by edict by the exact same Grand Master that pulled my charter. So
would that be the same one that brought me up on charges?
That would be one and the same. Most worshipful.
He was a busy bee.
Yep, it was a very interesting Masonic year. To be totally transparent about it, it was difficult. In this year, I have memorized all the ritual work and opening, closing in all 3 degrees. I can now sit in any chair and I can do any of them from memory, except for Chaplain. Chaplain's the only one I haven't memorized yet.
Yeah, that's a whole different book. The brown card. It has the blue book.
Yeah, that was my Masonic year. The first grand communication, we had a couple of hot button items on the agenda. And so I only had really 2, potentially 3 things that I wanted to speak on. The third thing actually never came up because it's not through the process yet. So there's nothing to speak on. It wasn't even brought up or mentioned. So either way, first grand communication. I'm not going to lie to you, brothers. Going into it, I was done with Masonry. I was totally done with Masonry because it's like, look, if this is what Masonry is and it's this heavy on politics and all this other stuff, I don't want anything to do with it. I'm good. I've got other things that I could do, spend my time on. I could go make money.
Right.
Yeah. So I could spend time with my wife and kid, who I spend a lot of time away from them doing Masonic stuff. I was done. Going into our grand communication, I was done. And sat through your appeals. So I did not go on a fishing trip. I had to go down to the Keys to take care of some stuff with our rentals down there. Drove back, Sat through your appeal. I was dog tired. I'm not going to lie about it. I was tired. It was interesting. I'm of the opinion that whenever you go through a trial in Masonry, and again, I'm still new. So some of you people that have been in it for 30, 40, 50 years, you could think that I'm full of garbage right now. And that's perfectly fine. You're not going to offend me by saying so. But going into it, I was of the mindset, I think a trial or an appeal should be trying to achieve harmony, not to dole out discipline. And that's kind of what I saw with the trials, and I saw that with the appeal, is it was very heavy-handed. It was very aggressive. And I'm sitting there looking at this, and I'm like, look, don't we learn in our entered apprentice degree, and don't we learn throughout our catechisms that the goal should be, if you see a distressed worthy brother, or you see a brother who's down on his luck, or whatever the case might be, help him. Help him. Don't just, if he's down, don't kick him while he's down. That doesn't make sense.
Right. That's when he needs you the most.
Yeah. And so,
stress.
We talk about, help, aid, and assist. We talk about in the entered apprentice degree of, do you have anything of intrinsic value? I mean, we talk about these things, and everybody knows what I'm talking about whenever I say those things. And I didn't see any of that. Just kind of like with the trial, my experience with the trial is the two brothers that were there were factually correct in what they said, but neither one of them handled it properly.
But only one of them wound up getting suspended.
Correct. So either way, going into grant communication, I was done. Sat through your appeals. I thought it was very aggressive. It was very heavy-handed. Your counsel did a phenomenal job at representing you. I mean, I cannot speak highly enough about Most Worshipful Glenn Bishop and Right Worshipful Joe Flades Jr.
I can't either.
Phenomenal brothers. And you packed the salon, which was interesting.
I wasn't sure if they were there to support me or just to see the train wreck.
I think there's probably a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, I know the guys from my district, and you guys and the Ruffians were there to support me, and so were some of the past grandmasters.
Yeah. Yeah. And so either way, we sit through the appeal. You get a 5-year definite suspension.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you just killed this guy's Masonic journey and career. Like, you just murdered it. There's no way he's coming back after this.
No way.
And even still, Brother Sean Cooney, he was ready to walk away at that point. I was ready to walk away at that point. So then you have a senior warden. Ready. I think Cooney's a senior warden now. You have a senior warden who's ready to walk away, and a committeeman, a district committeeman. And he's a millennial. He's younger. He's in his 30s, and he's ready to walk away. You've got me, who I'm busting my tail trying to do everything I can for the craft. I've been catechism instructor. I've been a lodge mentor. We're trying to build Lakeland 91 up to a point to where it's going to be a beacon in Polk County. And I was ready to walk away. And, similarly, our worshipful master that got pulled by edict, he was ready to walk away. It was shooing off the younger brothers in the craft. It was literally running them off in droves. So we go into grant communication. That happens. Of course, we have the Freedom Party the next day, which was stifled, I think is the proper way to say.
Well, I mean, that's why Cooney was so upset, because there were forces actively trying to hurt people and things, Yeah. We had a booth, the Grand Lodge had cashed the check. We ordered product, which we paid tariffs on to get ready for said event, and then it's like a week before we get the word, we're going to pull that. You're not allowed to come.
Yeah.
That was disheartening to him, I know, because he saw how the opposite of Freemasonry that kind of behavior was. Right.
And even still, I really want to hit on this, because this is kind of what I experienced through the grant communication. And I had a feeling about it, but I didn't see it until the grant communication. And then once I saw it, I was like, oh, that's what this is. Okay. And it almost seems like there's two different types of Freemasonry in Florida. And I'm saying types because these two, and I thought about this a lot since then, is there is the fraternal side of it and the brother side of it. And that was, you and I sitting around a table, having a scotch after your appeal. That's what that was. It was hanging out with the brothers out by the pool. It was, all of that stuff, laughing and getting to know these brothers from across the state, that you all took the same obligation at our sacred altar. We all took the same obligation, and to have those brothers of like minds there, have conversations, that was fun. That was fraternal. That was brotherhood. But then you also have the corporate side of Freemasonry. And the corporate side of Freemasonry is more about legalism. It's more about discipline and structure. And what does the digest say? And what does this comma mean in this sentence? And it's, I'm done with it, man. So
the bureaucracy of it all.
Yeah. And here's the funny thing about it. Whenever you have those two different camps in Freemasonry, you're going to have the fraternal side of it is going to look at the legalistic side of it and say, that's not Freemasonry. You're going to have the legalistic side of it, look at the fraternal side of it and say, that's not Freemasonry. So it's like, guys, we've got to find a happy medium between these two. We have got to have that. And I think we're probably going to have some legislation coming out next year that is going to kind of lead it in that direction. I'm helping with that to kind of marry these two sides of Freemasonry together, because if we don't and we keep having the split, I think it was Most Worshipful Foster who said it. It's almost like in Masonry, we're divided as if it's political lines. You know, it's insane. You know, the political division that we have in this country, well, we also have in Freemasonry here in the state of Florida. And so we've got to find a way to come together. And I'm being very open and transparent about that we've got to find a way for the legalistic and the fraternal to actually come together.
And I think that it seems like there's a movement happening right now that you're a part of the younger generation trying to get engaged and trying to submit some legislation that can move us in that direction. Maybe removing some of the bad parts of bureaucracy and enhancing some of the interrelations there.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, this is an optional fraternity. We all pay to be here. Every single one of us, we pay to be here in this fraternity. And at the end of the day, what separates Masonry from Rotary, from Elks, from the Critter Lodges, all this other stuff? And there should be something that sets us aside. But if we're going to be so heavy-handed on the legalistic side of it, then it's not going to be that. It's not going to be what it should be and what it was intended to be. Likewise, if we lean too heavily on the fraternal side of it, we lose what makes us Masons. If people don't do ritual and degree work properly, if you don't run your lodge in a proper manner, it's going to go sideways. So both are needed. We've got to find a way to have both sit at the table.
If you get into a leadership position in the fraternity, then you represent Freemasonry to a lot of people that look up to you, and you really are serving in that position. This is a fraternity, right? Not a corporation. So most of us aren't getting paid. I know some people do get paid for certain roles, but I oppose that. Actually, I think if you want to volunteer for something, you should be volunteering. But
agreed.
Some people get paid. That's the decisions that have been made. I'll live with that. But, you know, each and every one of us represents this fraternity to anyone that knows we're a Mason out in the world.
Right.
And you're probably the only exposure they're going to get to Freemasonry. So the way you act and deport yourself in public is really important.
Right.
And we always talk about how the lodge room is like training wheels for life. You know, we learn how to have disagreements and not yell at each other in the lodge room, how to listen when somebody else is speaking and not speak over them, and show respect to the people that we disagree with. We learn all these skills in the lodge room. So the next step is to take it out into your life and be that way with your coworkers and your boss and your employees and your neighbors. Like, have those disagreements with respect and make sure the person knows that you still respect them, even though you disagree with them.
And honestly, that was one of the candidates for the Grand South was a brother named Right Worshipful John Dragniff. He came to Lakeland Lodge and he spoke at our lodge. I had actually never met or talked to Rob Estelle, Right Worshipful Estelle, before that. I like him. You know, he seems like a decent guy. Had some great conversations with him, but
he's our new Grand Junior Warden.
Yep, he is our newly installed Junior Grand Warden, Grand Junior Warden. I don't know how these things go.
I don't get the titles right.
Yeah, titles suck. So either way, it was interesting, and that's one thing that he talked about. Right Worshipful Dragniff talked about is that he wanted to bring in Jocko Willink, Dan Crenshaw, and John Maxwell, and it was to actually provide and build training for the lodge. So it wouldn't be like MLT or Master Mason 1, 2, 3, which those things that you learn in those courses are meant to be internal lessons and how to navigate the digest and, you know, how to run a lodge and, you know, make sure that you take out an ad in the paper. Oh, gosh, it needs to be updated so bad.
Yeah, definitely does. Or notify your local news that you're doing
Yeah, notify your
fry.
local news that you're doing. Yeah, that you're doing the yet another French fish fry. I'm so over fish fries, man. Like everybody talks to them as if it's the holy grail of masonry. I am so over those. So
We have other ways of raising money. We're going to bring to future podcasts that don't involve taking a penny from a mason. So stay tuned.
So Right Worshipful Dragon have talked about that, of forming training that was actually showing you how to be a leader. Now, I've read Jocko Willink's book, Extreme Ownership, and he's got a second one, which is Dichotomy of Leadership. And I looked over because it's on my bookshelf in my office right over here. Dichotomy of Leadership. And those are lessons that you can take out into the world and you can apply to your house, your business. You can apply them within masonry. And I thought that was brilliant. I'm like, look, the 3 symbolic degrees that we go through and all the old teachings that we go through are meant to make you a better man outside of the craft. The current mandatory education that is needed is to make you better inside the craft. Now, it desperately needs updating. It really does need updating. But he was proposing, here's a leadership training that you can take out into the world, which I loved. And I was like, look, that is awesome. I think that is desperately needed. I hope he runs again next year for the Grand Sal. I really, truly do.
Worshipful John Dragniff you're talking about.
Yes. Dragniff was awesome whenever he came and spoke to us. Yeah,
that's an interesting idea. And I like that it's something positive and new for the craft.
Yeah. Yeah. And not only that, but it helps men be better versions of themselves. Because again, it's lessons that you can apply outside of the lodge. So I thought that was huge. So we go through your your appeal. We have the party, the Freedom Party, which was hilarious. There was a lot of fun that came out of that, to be honest with you. And actually, it's the first time I got to meet you. I think
people that saw us meeting for the first time, they were kind of like, what?
Yeah. It's like, meanwhile, Chris and I have been talking for 2 years, almost 2 years at this point. We've been, friends and, having fun and everything. And now we finally meet each other. And
I advised you early on, and then you started advising me, and we got pretty close.
Yeah. And honestly,
but I never met in person. So I'm standing next to him, and I don't know how tall you are, but he's a sarcastic guy. And he's like, oh, I thought you'd be taller. Yeah. And I'm like, hey.
Because you're like, what, 6'3", 6'4", or something like that?
6'2", 6'3".
Yeah, and I'm 5'11" on a good day. It's like I'm wearing like the Ron DeSantis heel boots, to kind of like get me up a little bit taller. You know what I'm talking about?
That's brotherhood. And I said, I thought you'd have more hair.
Yeah. So either way, we go into the first day, the first official day, which would be Monday. And gosh, the introductions took forever. It took so long.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was happy to see people from the other grand jurisdictions there. The Prince Hall brothers
were there. Bahamas always come.
Yeah. So, and actually what I was told is that there were less grand jurisdictions there this year than what there has been in previous years.
Really?
Cause I think there was 5, maybe. I say with a question mark. I'm probably wrong on that, but
you spend nearly half your first day on introductions.
Oh yeah, for sure. It took forever. Golly, it took forever. And keep in mind, I was driving back and forth. I didn't stay in Orlando for that. I live in Plant City, which is about an hour away. So I was driving back and forth every single day. Yeah, it was like, traffic was terrible. Of course, Orlando is always under construction, and it forever will be. Until the end of time, it will always be under construction. And I-4 is still the living purgatory of Florida. So it is terrible. I hate I-4.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So we go into the first day.
Pretty uneventful, right? For the first day? Pretty uneventful the first day, usually. Like, not a lot happens.
No. There was something that happened that was eventful. And the eventful was that Most Worshipful Aladro got up and gave a presentation on dispelling rumors.
I've heard that they were going around the whole state doing that presentation.
And here's the thing. I've got to give, I'm going to go ahead and call them out on it too. Most Worshipful Aladro and Most Worshipful Lynn are phenomenal public speakers. They are so good. Now, I don't agree on a couple of things that have happened, but they are very gifted speakers. I mean, I sat there and watched Most Worshipful Aladro disarm that entire crowd, with a couple of jokes, and it was good. I mean, he actually did an incredibly good job speaking. Same thing with Most Worshipful Lynn. He kept making the jokes about selling hot dogs, but he did a great job at communicating his message. So from a speaker perspective, they were really, really good.
Yeah.
So
they are good.
Yeah, I mean, if they've been in that world for as long as they have, I think Most Worshipful Lynn's been in the Grand Line for what, like 17, 18 years.
Over
So
20.
yeah, he's been there a while. I know Most Worshipful Aladro, he's been in over 10.
150 for him, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, they did a great job speaking. Again, I have different points where I disagree with them on.
Okay, so you're not advocating that the presentation was good, but you're just saying they did a good job presenting it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. I mean, I'm not saying that I agree with the presentations that were given, but whenever it comes to how they spoke, they are very good orators. I will give them that.
Give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm not opposed to doing that. So, yeah, I got to meet the entire Grand Line. I got to meet the ladies that work in the office up there at the Grand Lodge. Right Worshipful Rick Windling took me around and introduced me to everybody, which I thought was very nice and generous of him. So he's like, "Hey, man, let me introduce you to everyone." I'm like, "I'd rather not," because And here's the thing, like, y'all guys got to understand, like, the older I get, the more of an introvert I become. And I was not this way as a kid. When I was a kid, like, I think I was like 13, 14 years old. We went to Outback here locally.
Outback.
Yeah. So we went to Outback, and there's this, I'll never forget this. My dad cracked me up, man. He was the life of the party. And so there's this table of very attractive girls that are close to my age, maybe a little bit older. And so my dad looks at me and he goes, "Hey, Matt." And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Go have dinner with those girls." Huh? And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You see that table of girls over there?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Go have dinner with them." Okay. So I kid you not, I stand up. Here I am, like 14 years old, something like that, like 14, 15. I stand up, I walk over to this table full of girls, strike up a conversation. I end up having dinner with them, to the point where my mom was like, "Matt, you got to come back to the table." And Dad's like, "Let him go. He's fine."
He's on fire.
He's on it. He's running it. So the older I get, the more introverted I become. And it's like, my social battery just drains fast, So he's like, "Let me introduce you to everybody." I'm like, "Bro, I have been on," and a lot of you younger people know what I'm talking about whenever I say that. I have been on for hours at this point, and I just want to go sit in a corner. Like, that's all I want to do. Sit in a corner.
You can recharge.
Yeah. So that happens. First day rolls around. Most Worshipful Aladra gives his presentation. We have elections. And the really cool thing about the elections that I thought was super interesting and super neat is that the candidates who lost made a motion for their votes to go to the person who won. So that way it would be a unanimous vote. And you don't see that in politics. You don't see that anywhere else that I've seen. Certainly anywhere else that I've seen. I thought that was actually very wholesome and a sign of unity. I actually really enjoyed that.
Which we need more of. A little bit more. Come on, let's keep it going.
Yep.
So first day, what was the most eventful thing that happened that you can speak about at the actual grand communication?
First day actually wasn't terribly eventful.
I heard people were like walking out. Is that a fair?
That was the second day.
Okay, it wasn't the first day.
Yeah, second day, people started to walk out, which was interesting. So
what do you do that night? Oh, you go home, right?
Oh, yeah.
You don't hang out?
No. I took my happy rear end home. I was done. I was checked out. I was like, all right, I've seen all the vendors, and the vendors there actually had some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
There's one shirt that I really, really liked, and I wish I would have bought it, but it said Mason by day, gaming by night. And it had like a Nintendo controller right next to it.
Nice.
I really like that shirt. And of course, I got this shirt as well.
Who is James Mason?
We
will never know.
Oh, the mystery continues. Now, something interesting that did happen, and this is not Masonic at all, but something interesting that did happen is that first day. This was the most eventful thing that happened to me the entire first day on Monday.
Okay.
Is a bunch of us guys from our district, we decided to go down the road to Miller's Ale House, which was, 3-4 blocks, something like that. It wasn't a very long walk. As I'm walking, because I had to go put some stuff up, so I was like, "Hey, you guys go ahead and I'll catch up to you," right? As I'm walking, I hear footsteps behind me, and I'm like, okay, so I'm weird. I know y'all guys don't have to tell me. I know that I am. And I turn, I blade my body, and I look to my left, and I see a gentleman walking behind me. He's clearly looks like he doesn't have a house. He's clearly homeless, and he's carrying a black bag. And I'm like
a trash bag?
Like a grocery bag, a
Okay.
completely black grocery bag.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, okay, but as I'm looking left, because I'm keeping an eye on him, right? And I do this with everybody. I wasn't profiling. I'm just like this naturally. It doesn't matter who's behind me. It could be Nana. I don't care. And I look, and then he drifts. He starts walking the other direction to get out of my sight. Okay. Now y'all guys know I'm into combatives and, training and martial arts and all this other stuff, right? Security, medical training, like that's kind of my hobby that I like to do. So I decide, I'm like, all right, that's weird. So I look to my right and he's still walking behind me, but he does the exact same thing where he goes out of my line of vision again. And I'm just like, oh, okay.
That's suspicious.
It's suspicious. I'm not attributing motive or accusing anything.
You're just making an observation. This is shady.
So I speed up my pace, and I don't have a slow pace whenever I walk. He was shorter than I am. I speed up my pace, and as I'm increasing my pace, I hear him increasing his. I'm like, oh, okay. Wow. So now these are 3 data points that have happened where this is weird. Okay. So I look in the reflection of a window of a building that I walked up, and it's right by that Wonderworks, that house that's upside down or building that's upside down. Yeah. So I look in the reflection of the window and I see that he's closing the distance between me and him. And I was like, okay. So I stop at the next road intersection. I put my back against a wall. I've got my phone in my left hand because my gun is on my right hip. So it's like, all right, if things get squirrely,
you're ready to draw.
Yeah. So, and here's the thing. I pay money to have insurance for lawyers protect me, and I'd rather there be one story be told. I'm sorry. It's just the way that I think. So anyway, I put my back against the wall, got my phone in my left hand, and I'm acting like I'm looking for where this place is that I'm going. And I look, and he walks across the street. So he walks directly away from me because, again, I got my back against a wall now, right? He walks across the street and is walking in the median. And I let him get a couple of paces in front of me. And then I start walking more slowly. He decreases his speed and then gets back behind me again. Okay. All right, fine. I go over to Miller's Ale House, right? I'm just kind of keeping an eye on him. I go over to Miller's Ale House. I turn to walk into Miller's. He turns to walk down the same road that I'm walking down. And it's just like, okay, I'm clearly being stalked right now. Very clearly. Sadly, not the first time I've been stalked this year, if you catch my drift. So,
no, this is different.
Yeah, different one. Yeah, the other one was Masonic stalking. You can actually
confront this guy. You can turn around and be like, "What's going on, man?"
Well, at the end of the day, I walked into Miller's. He walked past it, and it's so funny. So we have a brother at our lodge. I'm not going to mention his name because he doesn't want to be named. But he's a Army veteran from around about the Vietnam era, so he's a very, very aggressive dude. But once you gain his respect, he is the nicest guy. He will do anything in the world for you. So I walk in and I explained the situation to the brothers at the table. And I was like, yeah, man, like this dude was just following me. He did this weird thing, all this other stuff. And this guy, and he's super loud. He doesn't have control of his volume. He's like, where's the son of a bitch at? I start laughing.
Kill him.
He's like, let's go out there. Let's go get him. And I was like, bro, like, could you imagine if the story that came out of the Grand Lodge or the Grand Communication is that a couple of Masons went and beat up a homeless guy? Right. Could you imagine the story?
He was just following the smell.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it was hilarious. So that was the most eventful thing that happened on Monday.
That's awfully strange, but it's good. He just kept going and didn't pursue it.
Yeah, so that was Monday. Again, I'm driving back and forth. I'm getting up at 5 a.m. to be there on time and to miss all the traffic. So I get home that night. Next day rolls around, and again,
Tuesday
so we're
now.
Sorry,
Tuesday now.
Yeah, we're on Tuesday now, and Tuesday is where the reports are, going to be voted on. Your report came up. And I'm not gonna lie to you, man. We go through the elections, and it's like, okay, dog and pony show. A lot of the brothers were calling it a dog and pony show, and I get it.
That's politics, right?
Yeah, it's politics, and okay, fine. That's part of what we do. But the second day is when it started to turn, and that was interesting to me because most worshipful Glenn Bishop. Now, your case got brought up. And most worshipful Glenn Bishop got up and spoke. And when that man spoke, first off, this man's got this like booming and commanding presence. I mean, the guy's a savage. I absolutely love the guy. We said on the last podcast, he's like the living Thor. Like we need to get him a Mjolnir to carry around.
We should chip in and get him a Masonic hammer.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm in. Let's go. So he gets up and speak. And that's when I saw the tide turn. That's whenever I saw, kind of like the mindset of everything that's going on. It really started to shift at that point. So your vote came up, and I think it was almost unanimous to reject the report. Which honestly made me very hopeful, because you had said after your appeal trial, you had said, my fate is now in the hands of the brothers, and the brothers had your back, which I thought was awesome.
Me too.
It was
Me
great.
too. Very surprising.
Yeah. So that was that. I can't.
I think what it was, man, I think they saw themselves in us. Like, wow, that could have been me. It could have been me that just maybe I said something that made someone mad, and like you get wrapped up in it. And I think that's why they reacted, because they saw themselves in us. They were like, wow.
Yeah.
And they stopped it. And, now they know they have the power.
Yeah. So, and honestly, that was super interesting to see. And it's like, okay, all right, the brothers got it. Sweet. That's awesome. And then there was a motion on the floor to have you retried. And again, that one was almost unanimous with the exception of 5 people. And I know one of them personally.
I want their names. No,
yeah, but I'll give it to you. I don't care. But
I'm
yeah,
sure I can give you their names.
yeah, really. There were 5 people that voted against that out of a room of 700 voters, 1,500 Masons. Only 5 were against the idea of retrying you. And I was like, cool. All right.
It's good to be on the right side of history sometimes.
Right. And so that's where I was like, oh, this is fascinating. This is really something special that the brothers actually had your back.
Not just for me, but other trials were also overturned, right?
Yeah, a lot of them were. A lot of them were overturned. And I don't know the brother's name. You're going to have to help me with this. He's the worshipful master down in the Keys.
Mock. Yeah.
Mock. His son, Mock Jr., I don't know his first name. I apologize, but that dude is a rock star. Oh, we got to keep an eye on him. He's great. You want to talk about an intelligent brother, can think on his feet, can present himself well and articulate. That guy was awesome.
Okay. He spoke on behalf of his father.
Yep. And that, again, that one was overturned. The one thing that was kind of annoying is anytime a situation was brought up or that we had to vote or speak on something is that you can only have 3 for, and 3 against. There was a motion on the floor to allow it to be unlimited, so that way all the brothers could be heard.
Oh, wow.
And it didn't even go to vote. It was just, no, we're not doing that.
Grandma said no.
Yeah. The Grand Line said no. And so it's like, okay, then we're going to keep doing 3 for, 3 against. Now, the one thing that was kind of annoying and a little frustrating is you would have brothers who would get up and they would speak either for or against. And so, the Grand Master would say, are you for or against? Well, they'd be like, I'm against it. Okay, present your case. Well, I just have a question about the definition of this. And it's like, and so what that did is it really limited the ability to be able to speak on certain items, because you only got 6 slots, both ways.
Right.
And nobody else was really allowed to speak. Maybe we could change that in the future to let the brothers be heard, or, hey, I have a clarification question, and instead of it being, are you for or against, answer the clarification question, and then they can say if they're for or against.
Right.
I think that would probably be a better way to handle it. But I also see the logic in you only have a fixed amount of time. Grand Lodge is only 3 days. You've got to get everything done in those 3 days.
But they take their time, right? The Grand Line takes more than every other brother gets to speak their piece.
Yeah. And honestly, that's what happened with the situation about Turkey Creek. To say that, trying to think of a way to word this where I won't get in trouble. To say that it was a spirited conversation between Most Worshipful Cowart and myself is an understatement. It was a very intense conversation. Or I should call it a debate. It was a debate. And now keep in mind, and is he
on the floor, or is he up on the dais thing?
He's sitting in the Grand East.
He's sitting in the Grand East, and you're down on the floor.
So we're going toe to toe.
Exchange.
We're going toe to toe while I'm standing at a microphone, which they did shut off on me.
They shut it off while you were speaking.
Yeah. So it was hilarious too. He I think spoke for probably 10, 15 minutes on just how bad Turkey Creek was. And I'm sitting there listening to it, and I'm like, man, some of these data points are false. They're just incorrect. And I don't know. Again, I'm not mad at the man. I want to be very clear about this. I'm not mad at the man. but the action as the Grandmaster, I disagree with.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not that I'm mad, but if we would have had the opportunity, or if we could have sat down and talked, myself and the Grandmaster, here's what's going on at Turkey Creek. Here's what I want to achieve. Here's this information. Here's that information. Can I make this work? Yes or no? I think we could have made it work without it blowing up into what it blew up into.
Most definitely you could have.
Yeah. But the problem is I was never given that opportunity. Anytime I tried to speak to the Grandmaster, it was like, hi, bye, and then gone. Right. So it's like, okay, if that's the way the man conducts himself, I'm not mad at it. Everybody's got their own little quirks. As we're talking about Turkey Creek, again, he's putting out some data points that are incorrect. For example, one of the ones that he said that we only had 3 people at our lodge, 2 or 3 people at our lodge that had completed Master Mason 1, 2, 3 and MLT. And I knew that to be factually incorrect because I was one of the ones that had it done and I was not counted amongst those people. So I knew that to be incorrect. And I stood up and I said, most worshipful, with respect, that is not accurate. There were actually 9 brothers. And we were hosting, Master Mason 1, 2, 3. We were hosting that at Turkey Creek. So, either way, it's, I had 3 minutes to present my case. And like I said, they shut off the microphone on me. He made another comment from the Grand East that was condemning Turkey Creek about something. And I spoke into the microphone and I said, may I respond? And I noticed that my microphone had been shut off. So again, I probably get myself into more trouble than what I should. I stepped out from behind the microphone and I yelled, may I respond? And I think it was like probably 10 of the brothers out of the crowd. They were like, let him talk. Let him talk. Let him talk. So they turned my microphone back on and I was able to refute some of the points. The conversation got, after he and I went back and forth, which again was a very fun, spirited debate. And if you're looking at this like a game, right? So you're looking at this like a chess match, or
which is how you look at it.
That's how I look at everything. I'm not emotionally invested in Turkey Creek, but I am gonna play this game and I'm gonna have fun with it, right?
Right.
So, and I told everybody who was involved with it, I told them the exact same thing. Hey, I am not emotionally invested into this. Like, if I respected you beforehand and we're on the different sides of this conversation, I'm going to respect you afterwards.
Right.
Right. You can't change my opinion of you. And at the end of the day, there are people that I genuinely respect, and I'll get into that story here shortly. But we're just on different sides of this conversation. That's the way it is. And I put that on the Turkey Creek page as well. And I think I put it on the transparency page as well, that we just found ourselves on different sides of this conversation. And that's okay. But at the end of the day, if y'all guys want to go out, get a drink, have a cigar, we'll laugh and cut up and talk about the stupid stuff we did as teenagers. I don't care. Like, let's still have fun and be brothers.
Right.
So
and you can have your disagreements too.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Like I said, we went back and forth. There was a motion on the floor to restore the charter of Turkey Creek. The conversation turned at that point because whenever I started talking about the qualifications of MLT and Master Mason 1, 2, 3, I mentioned that there were 9 brothers who had that. I said the problem is it goes from the brothers to the instructor to a reporting and then to the Grandmaster's hands, right? So there are 4 parties involved here. And if it did not get reported and it did not get to the Grandmaster's hands, that is not the brother's fault. The brother took the class.
Right.
It's not the brother's fault that didn't get to your hands.
That was required.
Right. Most Worshipful Coward then responded with, it is the job of the secretary to make sure that it's reported.
The secretaries can't record that in the Grand Lodge database.
So that kind of goes back to the legalism side of it, of, pushing off the work onto other people. I believe that to be a legalistic approach. I disagree with it. I don't think it's the secretary's job to do it. I think it's to the people that you appoint in that grand line.
That's right.
It's the people that are appointed. It's their job to do it. It's not my job.
Right.
I did my job. I went to the class.
That's just in keeping with the way that decisions were being made.
Right.
All year.
And then a bunch of brothers stood up and started talking about MLT and Master Mason 1, 2, 3 and all this other stuff. And the conversation started to drift away from Turkey Creek and towards another issue I think we have in the craft right now. But either way, it got voted on. There's a motion on the floor. It was seconded. It was voted on. And about 40% of the brothers were for Turkey Creek getting his charter back, and about 60% weren't. So essentially, I had 3 to 5 minutes to speak. Especially with the back and forth. I wasn't on a timer at that point. I had 3 to 5 minutes to speak, and I was able to convince 40% of the craft, and I consider that a win personally. especially with how flippin' nervous I was there. I'm not on home turf at this point, you know, and I've got the Grandmaster sitting in the Grand East, and he's, you know, speaking to me and I'm speaking to him. And again, it's spirited. I'm not gonna lie about it. It was probably the most spirited conversation that happened on the floor. And I'm using that word specifically.
So how were you personally feeling when you sat down from that exchange? Were you like, oh my God, I just screwed up horribly? Or were you?
No, I don't regret any of that. The only thing that I regret out of what I said there is I mentioned a right worshipful by name, and it made him look bad. And I actually genuinely respect the guy, but I mean, it was in the middle of a debate, and I did not think about that at the time. I regret saying his name, but the facts that I said are accurate.
Right.
So, and again, he's a guy that I respect, and this is a part that really kind of upset me from Grand Lodge. Here was the interesting thing about it. I've got this weird thing, and I keep telling y'all that I'm weird. You're going to figure it out. That if I'm in a scenario where I should be panicked or I should be nervous, I should be name a thing. If you're in a situation where you're nervous, typically your thoughts get jumbled up, right? And I think all of us, whenever you're doing public speaking, we've all experienced that. Yeah. I don't have that. My body will act as the emotion should dictate. So I looked like I was nervous. I spoke like I was nervous, but mentally my thoughts were very clear. And so
that's a nice trick.
I developed it back whenever my dad, I started working on it and noticing it back whenever my dad had cancer. Because we were at a point where he was over here at a local hospital, and they were like, hey, you need to call in hospice. He's done. And so, you know, as a 20-year-old kid, you hear that your dad's about to die, and it's pretty intense. I mean, that's an intense thing.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't any of that. It was, okay, what's our next step? So it's like, none of us were upset. It was, what is our next step? We're going to keep fighting this. Now later on that night, I bawled my eyes out, you know, but in the moment, there's no room for that right now. We've got a job to do. And that's how I was, you know, on the Grand Lodge floor. So, we disagreed. I walked to the back of the room, and there is a right worshipful who I truly respect and love. I really do. And he was furious with me. Furious. And I shook his hand, and he goes, I disagree with everything you said right then. And I said, that's perfectly fine. I said, we disagree. We're on two sides of this conversation, but I do still genuinely respect you. I said, I love you. I respect you. None of that is going to change. My opinion of you has not changed. It's just that we disagree. And I have since sent out 2 emails to the 2 guys that I really respect, because I know they were mad the fact that I got up and spoke in favor of Turkey Creek. They were angry about it. And it's like, look, I'm sorry. You know, we're on different sides of this conversation. I'm not emotionally invested, and I still think of you guys exactly the same. And I haven't heard anything back. I doubt I will.
But you did the right thing.
I tried.
Conciliatory email, said, I got no hard feelings. I hope you don't.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to hurt anybody.
Yeah. So that's kind of, it seems like we have somebody in the audience watching. Woohoo. So that was the second day. I actually didn't stay past lunch. I spoke about you, and I spoke about Turkey Creek. And I'm like, all right, I'm done at this point. I'm going home. Since then, the amount of brothers from across the state that have reached out to myself, to the Turkey Creek page, it's called the Ghost of 248. If you guys want to follow that page, the amount of brothers that have reached out and said, how can I help, has been staggering to me. I mean, it has been so refreshing, to hear that and to see that all these brothers are standing up and saying, no, we want to help you. Like, you made a good case. We want to help you. How can we help you?
Great. That's very encouraging. So you're riding a high off of the grand communication, right? It ended. You went home. You know who's getting installed. You know what didn't get accepted. You know that you gave it your best shot to defend Turkey Creek. Mm-hmm. And you're getting set up with new meetings.
Yeah, so that's one thing that again, if I would have been able to have the conversation with the previous administration, I think the whole Turkey Creek scenario would have been totally different. It'd have been completely different, because I was trying what they had a problem with was the past masters at Turkey Creek, which I get it. I mean, I've told everybody, hey, Turkey Creek has had its time where it's been a bit of a rebellious lodge. I'm not denying that at all. I was trying to flush that out with new blood, is what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
And I just was never able to effectively implement it. And keep in mind, I was studying to sit in the East for a degree. This is something I didn't get to say on the floor, and I wanted to. I was studying to sit in the East for a degree, and I was so happy with our progress of you've got all brand new Masons that are putting on this degree. I was going to invite the entire Grand Line to come to that degree. I was going to invite all of them and say, no, come see what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Because now we've got the plan of action. We've got 8 to 11 years of fresh leadership. Come see what we're doing, please. Because I want it to be, I want Turkey Creek to be a good lodge, or I wanted Turkey Creek to be a good lodge. Yeah, I just ended up going home. Now, the cool thing about that is now Most Worshipful Tally, then Right Worshipful Tally. Tuesday afternoon, he reached out to me and he goes, I want to help you. And I was like, huh? That which again was a total 180 from what my experience had been so far. So he's like, I want to help you. I'm like, great. That's awesome. Let's do it. I ended up talking to him on Thursday morning. We had about a half-hour conversation, and he started off the conversation with how can I help Turkey Creek get its charter back? Let's work to get Turkey Creek's charter back. And I said, Most Worshipful, with respect, I actually have a different idea. And he goes, let me step away from where I'm at right now. So he was at breakfast with some people. He stepped away. He gave me a half hour of his time. And so I came up with an idea of how Turkey Creek could still be of use. Once that goes through the proper channels, I'll be able to speak on that a little bit more. But that was awesome. I mean, it was really, really cool. The fact that now he's been the Grand Master for less than 24 hours. And he's reaching out to me saying, how can I help you? Help, aid, and assist.
So you make a proposal he has never heard before.
Correct.
And he receives it favorably?
Whenever I threw out the idea, he sat there. He was quiet for a little while to where I was like, did my phone drop the call? He was quiet for a little bit. And then he goes, Matt, I'm amazed nobody's had this idea yet. And I was like, well, it's what's best for the craft. I mean, at the end of the day, my personal feelings is I want Turkey Creek to come back. It's my home lodge, man. I mean, it's the place where I was raised. Right. I want Turkey Creek back. But is that what's best for the craft? And the answer is no. It's not what is best for the craft, because in 5 years, we'll probably end up being in the exact same situation. So, okay.
But it can still help the craft in some way.
Exactly, which is what my proposal is. So I dove into the digest. I sent out the proposal to Most Worshipful Tally, Most Worshipful Foster, and Right Worshipful Windling, and was like, hey, here's my idea for Turkey Creek. You guys let me know your thoughts. But at the end of the day, I am out of District 20. I am in District 21 now, and I love being in District 21. So you guys do with it what you will. I'll help any way you want me to.
So you got a proposal out. The Grand Master is considering it at this point, or do you need to do more work on your part to get it over the hump?
I have done all the work that I can, as from my position. I've done all the work I can. I dove into the digest, tearing through a couple of those things because, gosh, I've read the digest so much this year.
Yeah, me too.
Have we talked about on the show, by the way, that my Worshipful Master at Lakeland got removed by edict and he's facing charges right now?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And he hasn't had a trial yet, right?
No, he has not had a trial yet. I really hope that is just kind of dismissed because they were kind of petty charges, if I'm being honest with you.
To be honest with you, there are people who remain suspended or got expelled or are under charges currently. There's another brother who's in another state and he was too sick, he couldn't make it. So they pushed back his trial. But all of these brothers got the same problems I had. So I don't know how we help them all, but I hope someone listening can help us find a way to help the other brothers that were kind of treated improperly last year and deserve a fair shake. Yeah,
and honestly, I mean, again, I kind of go back to the trials. And you and a couple of other people, y'all guys keep making the joke that I'm essentially campaigning for Grand Line right now. No, I'm not.
I haven't made that joke yet.
I think it was Cooney who made it, actually. He's like, man, you're going to be in the Grand Line one day. I'm like, no, I don't want the smoke. I'm good.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. You couldn't pay me money to get into the politics.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that whenever it comes to, and actually, brother Tim from the Panhandle, He has some legislation that he's drafting up that I think is going to be more in line with what is proper and good for the craft. So, for example, whenever we go into trials, I think the goal should be peace. Not condemning. The goal should be peace. Okay, how can we make this a peaceful thing? Explain why you did what you did. Here's what the digest said. I think a reprimand should be the most used punishment in Masonry.
Right.
I think suspension or expulsion. And by the way, can we do away with the indefinite suspension ordeal? Because that is the dumbest. It makes no sense, because you might as well just expel him. So indefinite suspension doesn't make sense. You might as well expel the guy. It goes through all the same process.
It's slightly easier to get back into the fraternity if you're indefinitely suspended than if you're expelled.
Then give him a 50-year suspension. I don't know, man. I watch some of this stuff, and honestly, as I'm looking at it, you've got people who have been in this fraternity longer than I've been alive. And that is a true statement. And actually, that's the case for Most Worshipful Don Cowart. Whenever he came to Turkey Creek and he spoke about it being that way for 42 years at Turkey Creek, my response to him was, and again, this is what got me in trouble. My response was, Most Worshipful, I can't answer for what happened 5 years before I was born. I'm sorry. I got nothing, man. I need to know where to find answers. That's
Who brings stuff up from that far back?
He had his reasons. I'm not pretending to know his reasons.
Right.
I don't fully agree with his reasons, but at the end of the day, there's nothing in Masonic teaching that says that I have to agree with everything a person does.
No. Yeah.
So
no hard feelings.
No, not at all. Because at the end of the day, my goal is peace.
Right.
That's what my goal is. That's what I care about. I want there to be peace in the craft. I want there to be peace in the fraternity.
Past is now behind us, so let's start fixing things and rebuilding things.
Yeah, so
including trust. We need to rebuild trust between the Grand Line and the craft.
That I completely agree with, because you do have brothers around the state that are still hurt, and you have brothers that are still being affected right now. For example, I've talked about Worshipful Ryan from Lakeland Lodge. He's facing charges right now. And the only thing that he did, or what he was accused of, I should say, now they put in his charges, they put like evil speak and unmasonic conduct and all this other stuff, like the umbrella stuff.
Right.
But it's that he didn't specifically follow the digest on removing an appointed officer. And there were issues surrounding that, because there has to be notification to the craft. There were issues surrounding that stopped us from being able to do that. Now, to be fair, and this is a rumor that I've heard, and I hope the right people hear what I'm about to say. When it comes to what happened at Lakeland Lodge, I dove into the digest. I wrote out all the procedures. I wrote out, hey, here's exactly what the digest says. Here's what I would do. And I actually went with the most aggressive option. I was going hard in the paint, because it's like, no, we're going to go ahead and cut off the head of this snake right now, and just be done with it. They actually did not follow my suggestion. They took their own path, which he's the worshipful master. It's his right to do that, right? He did not follow my counsel, and my counsel was aggressive. He was being merciful. So, which again, I realize what I just said is counterproductive to what I said about trials, where the goal should be peace. What I was looking at is this was a scenario where one of the parties did not want peace. And it was very evident that they did not want peace.
Well, I think that that's something important for our new Grand Line to remember, is that they have the hard task now of regaining the trust of the brothers. And then really the only way to do that is just to communicate with them. So I hope they're listening, and I hope that they understand that communicating is the answer to almost all of our problems. We got to listen to each other.
Yeah, and
just got to hear each other out, right?
And just like we said on the last podcast, the offer is open. If anybody from the Grand Line, and I truly mean anybody from the Grand Line, past Grand Masters, it doesn't matter. If you want to come on to this show, we will give you a fair shake. Explain to the craft what your thoughts, goals, your opinion of Masonry, all of that. We'll send you the questions ahead of time. We're not doing any kind of gotcha journalism. We're not doing that. But I do think it would be good, and it would be wise for us to increase communication and transparency. I think that would be good for the entire craft.
100%.
Yeah,
especially now.
And even still, I mean, we talked about that if Worshipful Roger Hall had won, that we were going to do like a fireside chat. Yeah, I honestly, if you're okay with it, because this is your show. I mean, I know
it's
that I just
our show. That's got to stop. It's in the past. Now you have to take responsibility for this as much as I do, because it's your show too.
Yeah, you're right. So either way, I'm definitely willing to extend that offer to Most Worshipful Tally of, hey, come on to the show. Brothers from around the country. Actually, no, because I've seen the stats on it. Brothers from around the world listen to this show. We got brothers in Africa, from the UK. I mean, we've got people all over the world watching this show. So the offer is open. No kind of gotcha. Let's just have conversations like brothers and say, okay, here's what we're hearing in the craft. What are your thoughts on it? What are your plans? What are your goals? How can we help achieve those goals? Because at the end of the day, I think that the brothers of the craft should be helping the Grand Line. Also, yes. I believe the brothers in the Grand Line should be helping the craft. That is a two-way street.
I 100% agree with that. We have to work together. And it's not them against us. They have their problems, and we have our problems, too. We need to fix ourselves. We have a lot of infighting as brothers that we shouldn't have. A lot of little picks and quarrels that we shouldn't have. We just got to talk to each other.
Yeah. So I will say this: my 30,000-foot view of Grand Lodge, Grand Communication. Going into it, I was done with Masonry. As a past Grandmaster once told me, if you don't like it, get the F out. So I was at get the F out stage. But the brothers have really kind of revitalized my affinity for the craft. So I love the lessons in Masonry, but all of our lessons are on the internet anyway, so I could get that anytime I want just by a Google search. The brothers have really kind of revived me in the craft. So
yeah, like you said, you're getting calls now. You have a plan. You're working with the Grandmaster. What does the future of Matt Stone's career look like now? Like, let's make this prediction so we can come back and watch this episode in like 5 years. Like, where does Matt expect to be in 5 years from now?
So here's the thing. Putting my neck out there for Turkey Creek, as I'm not going to say as aggressively, but as passionately as I did, it put me on a couple of radars that I don't want to be on. Yeah. So I was not a fan of that at all. And I was making enemies of people that I had never met, up until, Grand Communication. I had never met these people. And I'm like, hey, how are you? And it's one of those things where I don't like that Matt Stone guy. And it's like, I've never met you. Like, it's fine if you don't like me, but at least, get to know me and, let's go from there. So going into it, I was done. Coming out of it, the brothers have revived me. What's on the future for me right now? Honestly, I want to settle this situation with Turkey Creek, which I'm very excited for what's going to happen there. Because again, it's going to be what's good for the craft. It's not what's good for me. It's not what's good just for Turkey Creek. It's good for the whole. I want to get through that. I want to be quiet for a little while because I'm tired. I mean, you want to talk about busting your tail in the quarries, man. This year I did it. I also want to get through Worshipful Ryan's trial. I want to see him, fully restored. He's a very dear friend of mine. I absolutely love the guy. So I want to see him totally restored. Yeah. That's another goal that I'm working toward. After that, I just want to be, a lodge instructor, a mentor, a catechism instructor, whatever. And let me go through the chairs and just kind of enjoy some time of peace and actually fall in love with the craft. Because I've got brothers that have been in it for 30, 40 years that they're like, man, I love the craft and I love everything that it is and all this other stuff. And I asked them, and I've said it here on the show before, I'm like, I wish I knew what you were talking about. Because my first year sucked. It was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it's not going to be worse than that. That was about as bad as Freemasonry is going to get.
That was rough, man. It was rough. And I would be curious because we started off the year with 28,000 Masons in the state. And we were basically, for the brothers that died off and the brothers that, came in and were initiated, we had about a 1-to-1 ratio. So, but over the last 10 years in the state of Florida, we've had a 22% decrease. Nationally, it was 24%. I would like to see that change. I'm curious this past year, how many brothers we lost. So whenever that census comes out of how many brothers are actually in the state now, I'm really curious to see what those numbers are.
The focus wasn't on growing the fraternity. There's a certain group of people that think it needs to shrink, that's a good, healthy thing. Shrink further than it has.
Well, I don't think it needs to shrink. And I've heard a right worshipful say at one point, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And I can give you a very good picture of how that looks over a long period of time.
Yeah, but you can have both.
Yeah, I agree with that. You can definitely have both.
Organization full of the best guys.
Yeah.
Right?
And honestly, there's a lot of churches that do that where they're like, you know what, we might be, 50 people sitting in this room, but you know what? It's about the quality of people. And it's like, no, if you're in a church, your job is to bring people in and to tell them the good news. Same thing with Masonry. We're about making good men better. Bring the good men in. So shrinking the organization intentionally, and this is just a numbers thing, shrinking the organization intentionally, whether it be church or whether it be Masonry, is not going to be a net positive. That's actually, it's going to damage. It's going to do more damage than it is anything.
And it's so easy to bring people into the fraternity. It's so easy. And, the guy who took over my job at the Grand Lodge Marketing Reimbursement Program is really doing a great job, but he's just not getting support from the people at Grand Lodge. So, they have to be bought into it if they really want to make it happen. Yeah. And it will happen if they buy into it. So here's crossing my fingers that becomes a big issue for them, is fixing this membership problem soon.
So you want to talk about brothers working in the quarry? I don't think it's any secret, and I don't think this is controversial at all in saying this, but after this past year in Masonry, and again, my last year in Masonry sucked. It was terrible.
I too.
Yeah, yours too. I think the Grand Line has got a lot of work to do in the quarry right now. They really, really do. And I'm here to help them. I am here to help. I will help, aid, and assist those brothers in any way that I can.
Absolutely. I want to see them win. If they win, we win. Yeah. So let's all win together.
Yeah. And so again, I'm going to be a lot more quiet than what I have been. So I am.
That.
What's that?
No, you're not. You're going to come on this podcast, and I'm going to keep making you talk. And we got to talk about, as things develop at the Turkey Creek situation. Mm-hmm. The brothers, I'm sure, want to hear updates on how that's going. So we're going to need to hear about that. And it's my sincere hope that we can interview some Grand Lodge people in the near future, and let them, talk to the younger brothers of the craft. Yeah. That maybe don't get exposed to them because they don't go to the events. They don't, like the dog and pony show. So new media is a way that you could talk to every single brother.
Well, I mean, you can talk to brothers from around the world. Just using this right here. I mean, it's a very good tool to have.
It would be great to have our Grandmaster come on this podcast and talk about strength, harmony, because other grand jurisdictions, from what I understand, were really watching hard what was going to happen in our grand communication. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's a sigh of relief that the brothers took some action from other jurisdictions that were looking at us under the microscope. So they have work to do, not just internally, but to our outside brothers that saw the disharmony we had.
And honestly, after Grand Lodge, and I think it was this way with a lot of the brothers that I talked to, it was almost like a sigh of relief. Whenever Wednesday rolled around, it was a sigh of relief. It was just, okay, like now that's behind us. Now, how can we move forward in a productive manner? So I did notice that amongst the brothers, because even like whenever you were walking through the lobby of the rosin, like you could feel the tension in the air. You could feel it. Like
I was there, obviously. I was there the weekend before, and it was not like any other communication I'd ever been to. There was a lot of people just in smaller groups, keeping it quiet. And
well, especially whenever, and you know what I'm talking about whenever I say this, especially whenever we're sitting there right after your appeal, and then a group of people go and sit at a table right across the walkway from us, and we're like,
it felt like it was on purpose, but I guess I don't know for sure.
See, and here's the thing, that's not Masonic. What happened to trigger that thought in your brain? What caused that? And what caused that was not Masonic, right? So not that you had the reaction, your reaction was justified, but whenever you have, you should be able to have open communication with your leadership. And I think we're finally back at a point where that's a little more acceptable. The brothers are going to be, they've kind of quelled down a little bit or quieted down a little bit. I think the brothers are going to be, all right, let's get back to peace and harmony.
They're ready for it. They're ready for the good stuff. So I think we're all ready for it. Let's see it.
Yeah.
And next year, I hope you try to shake the brother's hand who wouldn't shake your hand this year, and hopefully he will next year.
I hear he may be retiring, so I might not get the opportunity.
That would be disappointing.
Honestly, and that's the funny thing about it. Like, look, if you hate me, that's fine, but at least sit down and have a conversation with me of why you hate me, right?
Yeah,
I'll hear you out. I will never get mad about that. It's like, no, let's have a conversation, because the only thing is so here's the thing. Whenever it comes to last year's administration, and I think this is a fair thing to say, there were people in last year's administration that I'm going to say hated brothers in the craft based off of what they heard somebody else say. Because I didn't have a conversation with any of these guys. So there's only one person out of the Grand Line last year that I even had a conversation with. So, and then likewise, you had a lot of brothers in the craft. And again, this is a fair thing to say. You had a lot of brothers in the craft that they hated people in the Grand Line because of what they heard. Brothers, Masons talk a lot, and not all of it is accurate. You've got to find the truth. And you and I had a scenario about that last year where we're on a Zoom call, and it's, well, this person did that, and this person, did all these other things. And I said, where's your proof?
Right.
I don't care what other people are talking about. Where's your proof?
Receipts.
Well, I've seen it. Then get your hands on it. Right.
Right.
And then if it's true, then let's discuss it. But if it's not true, stop saying it.
Right. Yeah, that's not Masonic either. You just because you heard something doesn't make it worth repeating.
Yeah. And honestly, and brothers, I say this with love. I really do. Masons gossip more than teenage girls. It's insane.
My wife says that too.
It is
you guys
insane.
are worse than a bunch of women hanging out at the hairdryers.
Oh, and it's hilarious. I find it absolutely hilarious. So, again, with how much work I did last year, to try to make sure the truth was out there, I plan on doing an equivalent amount of work, if not more, to restore peace and harmony. That's what I want to do, because the past is in the past now. We can put it behind us. And now I want to take time and fall in love with the craft. That's what I want to do.
Good. Okay. That's a good answer. And I hope that happens for you. It looks like it's going to. And then we'll interview again when you're the master of a lodge, and then when you're the district deputy, and when you go ahead before you put in your candidacy for the Grand Line. We'll have
Don't you dare put that evil on me, Chris Burns.
Then when you're the Grand Master and I'm 100 years old, we'll do another podcast.
No, thank you. I am okay. I am all right for now. And again, that may change in the future, but as it stands right now, I own a construction business. I run an air conditioning business. I'm active in my lodge. I have a 3-year-old and I have a wife who I love very much, who is she's really been in my corner for a lot of this, and she's heard a lot of this drama. I don't have the time to move up any more than just regular lodge meetings. So as of right now, my time will allow me to be a worshipful master, and that's about it. Yeah. I don't have any time for anything else. I'm sorry.
Right. Right.
The answer is going to have to be no.
I think that's good. You need to pace yourself. Everyone says that, but now you understand Freemasonry is a marathon. It is not a sprint.
Yep.
Although you've been sprinting. So it's time to slow down the pace.
Yeah. And here's the thing, brothers, especially you younger brothers, or shoot, you could be a 50-year member. I don't care. I really hope and pray this for you, that your Masonic journey does not mirror mine. My year was hard. It was a very hard year. But
the average guy wouldn't have made it through your year.
Yeah, and you've said this on a previous podcast from last week, that my exposure to church politics, and my exposure to local politics, because I am, I'm on the planning board here locally. My exposure to those things, and of course, being a business owner and going to all the business classes and studying, watching people's body language, how they word things, logic, rhetoric, all this stuff that we study, it kind of set me up to be able to handle a lot of the difficulties that I had last year. But again, I really hope nobody's Masonic journey mirrors mine, because it was hard.
I hope it doesn't as well. And we have work to do still. Mm-hmm. So it's not retirement time yet. It's time to get busy. Help more people.
Yeah, but can I put in a vacation request?
You can.
I just need a couple of days.
Yes. It's approved. You've earned it. You can take that time. Keep your phone handy. We might still call you.
I don't know about all that.
Well, listen, you have had a very unique journey, and you're at a great place right now. What would you like to say to the brothers that are listening in Florida and beyond?
So one thing that I learned in this past year. Masonry unites us in a way that is super unique. I was not expecting brothers from other states to call me and say, how can I help? And they actually put effort forward, to help us here in Florida and to help me personally. I mean, it was absolutely insane. So the help, aid, and assist part was so evident with the brothers in the craft, and it was so evident with brothers in other states. I had people from multiple states and even other countries calling me saying, hey, we're on board. What do you need? That was heartwarming for me. Masonry unites us. The politics of Masonry is what divides us. We've got to find a way in order to have a conversation and for all of us to come together. So my whole thing is, and all of us know it, but may peace and brotherly love prevail. That is my goal. That's what I'm working towards. So like I said, I'm probably going to be a little more quiet than what I have been. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to stop doing what's right. I'm not going to stop fighting for the brothers in the craft. The fact that I had about 3 to 5 minutes to speak about Turkey Creek and 40% of the craft agreed with me, shocked me. And especially with your vote and the fact that it was almost unanimous.
That shocked me too.
That was
giving a little bit of this feeling.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. During Grand Lodge, and here's the thing, I'm not an emotional guy at all. I'm very, very logical, to the point where it pisses my wife off. But when I looked, I was in the back of the room whenever they voted on you specifically, and it got me to choke up. I actually choked up a little bit, and I was like, "This is awesome. This is absolutely awesome."
I still do if I talk about it too much, because Freemasonry is really important to me. Made it big part of my life, and I thought it was gone for a minute, and the brothers brought it back. Mm-hmm. So I owe so many people, and I hope I can repay people. I hope I get the opportunity to repay everybody.
That really it shined through the fraternal aspect in that, the fact that these brothers did not forget the teachings that we learned in the 3 symbolic degrees. They did not forget it. They stuck true to their catechisms, the obligations. They stuck true to all of that. I mean, there was a lot of talk about, well, we all took the same oath at our sacred altar. And it's like, well, we did. And I'm watching these brothers apply it, and they're applying it very well. So that was heartwarming for me. It really was. And so brothers that were there, even if you voted against me, and even still today, if you hate my guts, I still love you. I'll still do anything in the world for you. And if I can't do it, I probably know someone who can. So
how can they reach out to you if they do want to give you some feedback or offer any assistance to you?
A lot of brothers have been reaching out through the Ghost of 248. It's the previous Turkey Creek page, but they've also been reaching out to me directly. So if you reach out to On the Level, the Ghost of 248, or if you reach out to me directly, I have access to all of that. Okay. I want to hear from the brothers, even if you disagreed with me. I still want to hear it, and so that way I can justify my position, because I only had 3 minutes to tell what I saw was the truth. And there's more to the story. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about it right now, but there is more. Oh,
there is so much more to the story. That's why I say if the brothers heard the whole story, you would have seen a nearly unanimous vote for Turkey Creek to keep its charter.
But again, I only had 3 minutes. But at the end of the day, I'm focused on, again, peace and harmony. That's why I put forward this proposal about Turkey Creek. It goes against what I want personally and emotionally, but it's what's good for the craft.
It's a good solution. I'm very impressed and excited for everyone to hear about it. I hope it comes to fruition. I will be there to support you and that lodge if things go in a positive direction like we hope they do.
Are you kidding? You're going to be my installing officer. What are you talking about?
I would gladly do it. Gladly.
So that's it for my review of Grand Communication. I was tired, I was frustrated, and the brothers have brought me back to life. So, brothers, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yes. That's all right. That's about it for us in this episode of On the Level Podcast. If you haven't, give a like, maybe share it with your brothers. We're really trying to get people to subscribe and follow us so that we don't have to keep chasing you all over the internet. So if you happen to listen to this and you didn't hate it, please do like, subscribe, and share. And give us suggestions for what you want to hear, who you want to talk to. Maybe you yourself want to come on the show. You have an idea that you want to share with the crowd. We are a vessel for positive change in Freemasonry. So please do reach out to us. Until next time, this is On the Level Podcast, and we are out.